Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is, are we ready? Yes. Good morning once again. I'm Brian Moffitt. I'd like to welcome everyone, staff, to the August 25th, 2023 meeting of the Asheville Downtown Commission. The Asheville Downtown Commission was created by the City Council for the sustainability and continued development of downtown, a vital urban center of Western North Carolina's economic, cultural, and visitor activity. The Downtown Commission provides City Council with recommendations on downtown policies and initiatives. In addition, downtown commissioners currently fill 3 out of the 9 seats of the city's Design Review Committee, which reviews development projects within the Central Business District, the River Arts District, and hotel projects outside of those areas. The Downtown Commission also has the opportunity to provide input on projects outside of the scope of Design Review. We are streaming live on our Virtual Engagement Hub, which is accessible through the Virtual Engagement Hub link on the front page of the city website, and also linked on the committee page, and we are also available on YouTube. For anyone out there with us today, welcome. At this time, I'll go through and introduce all the committee members. As I call your name, please say a quick hello, assuming I can use this. Nur Edwards.
Hello.
I'm just going to go around. Jessica.
Hello.
Our council liaison.
Good morning.
Michelle.
Hello.
Good morning. Good morning. Robin.
Good morning.
Ricardo.
Good morning.
And Megan.
Good morning.
And our staff actually are newly minted, is that a good word, director?
Hello, Steph Munzendahl.
And our downtown specialist staff liaison. Listen to that.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Commissioners, please remember, as I should, to speak into the microphone when we speak so that those who are out there can actually hear us. We can hear each other, but that's for our recording, for our minutes, as well as for any that are attending virtually. All right. I will start, I guess our first item of business then is to go through our approval of the draft action minutes from our July 14th, 2023 meeting. Are there any revisions, comments, or do we have a motion to approve?
Typo for Jan Davis says Jane Davis.
Okay.
With that, I'm happy to make a motion to approve.
Very good. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Motion carries. We do not have any virtual comments that were submitted prior ahead of time for public comment. Is that correct?
We did receive one, which I just forwarded, and I'll link it to the agenda now. For some reason, I'm not getting them the same way I used to, so that is my fault. I just forwarded it to everybody's email.
Okay. We will review that as we go, and noted that we did receive a public comment. Is there any in-person public comment at this time on items in the agenda? Very good. We will go into our new business and presentations. So our planning director is going to talk about the Pack Square Plaza Vision Plan.
Oh, I'm
And is
sorry.
Kim joining us?
Unaware, looks like she's not.
Okay.
So if I just.
5 minutes ahead of schedule, I can slow down.
Well, good morning. My name is Stephanie Munzendahl. I'm the Planning and Urban Design Director for the City of Asheville. Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here today. Check this out. In this picture, we can see right where we are, right? There's City Hall in the background. And in the foreground, you see Pack Square Plaza. So this looks pretty good, right? I mean, here's this, in the foreground, this beautiful piece of public art by Haas Haley. It is reflecting, the colors are all reflecting the sky and the mountains and our place, and it feels pretty good. And there is truth to saying that this plaza in the heart of our downtown is in decent shape, and it's a lovely place. But if you look closer at this picture, there are some issues, and there are some things that are invisible. This was taken by one of the La Quattro Bonsi staff after the project was first completed 20-something years ago. And you'll see that you can tell by what the trees look like and all of that. But at that point, standing behind you would have been a 70-foot tall granite obelisk, which our community decided to take down. And we know that that was a divisive memorial that suggested that a certain group had power, and that we had a lot of discussions. There are other about whether or not it should come or go. There are other memorials and monuments in this park. There are several just to Thomas Wolfe right to the right of you. On the left, there's a space that's not really activated and could be used better. What you don't see in this cleverly crafted photo is that really you're sitting in between two streets that were built for automobiles. And that beautiful grove in the middle ground and to the left with the river birches, that's not ADA accessible. So there's actually room for improvement in our most important central public space. And that is why we went out a year ago and said that we were going to reimagine Asheville Central Square. It didn't need to be wholesalely changed, but we wanted to work with the community and figure out how we could make it more welcoming and inclusive. And we put together a team with the county, that's a partnership, and McAdams, who have some specialty in parks, especially being led by project manager Mitchell Silver, who ran New York City's Parks Department. And we did a pretty interesting public engagement process with a lot of focus groups. And you can see we had input like actually in place. We did tours, and we collected what we heard, and we created a draft plan. So that plan is now under review, and what we're here today is to ask you to make a recommendation to Planning and Zoning and City Council about whether or not that plan should be adopted. And I want to take a pause here and tell you what being adopted as a master plan means in the state of North Carolina. It means it's a guiding document. It means that the elected body is accepting that this is a consensus-ish. There's no such thing as consensus across all people. The best case consensus that we can get for a vision for a specific place or specific issue in our community. It means that there are suggested items to do that might affect policy that our elected officials should stand up and take note of. And that to the best of our abilities, we're going to use this document when we make changes moving forward. And that's all it means. It doesn't commit us to spending a dime. It doesn't commit us to doing things exactly as they are written, but it helps serve as a historical record of, at this moment in time, this is what we thought would be a really good thing to do. So we took that public engagement that we heard, the 10 themes, and we took like 25 drawings that y'all came up with in January with the community. And we came up with a really simple concept plan. And it basically says 4 things. It says, make the space more usable and accessible to people, provide new experiences and new amenities, keep sharing our history, but address past harm, and make some connections to the block. Make that invisible piece visible. And you could see by this concept diagram in the center, we amalgamated all of the different potential design ideas into a more general concept that says, we all agreed that that space on the north of the plaza really should be activated, and that by creating new vendor spaces for people, maybe like with more permanent kiosks, we could probably address some issues of entrepreneurship, growing our downtown sector maybe with more diverse businesses. And then also there's some public safety aspects to this as well, as we all know that an activated space is a safer space. On the right-hand side where those river birches were, there's this idea about doing a meditation grove or a place for reflection, and it might even be an opportunity to name or talk about some of the harms that have happened in these public spaces in the past and make it be more of a place for healing. On the southeast corner, that is our direct connection to the block. We can work on a cultural corridor that knits these two places together and makes things more unified. And then you'll see in the center, the idea here is to just say, let's not just have one kind of racetracky median. Let's really kind of think of this as one place. If you looked, from an aerial photo, and I think I don't have one. I have one in here. If you look on your materials, there are a lot of slides that are not being shown today. But at minimum, there's about 0.6 acres of space if you include those streets. If you start including the plaza for Pack Square that includes West Pack Square and the space in front of the Art Museum, it's over 1.5 acres of public space for people right in the heart of our downtown. So this plan is saying maybe we should be using it a little bit better. And here are 10 design ideas for which we can pick and choose, implement over time, 1 to 20 years, and really solve some of the issues and address some of the themes that the community came up with. So I mentioned a couple of them, but I think you guys have gone through this before. So to note that this is our first stop in plan review. So Downtown Commission comes first. It's going to go to Planning and Zoning. We're going to the Buncombe County Board of Commissioners. They are not going to officially review it at their meeting, but they're getting a briefing on it because as we move forward, Buncombe County is continue to be a partner in this process, right? Because this is the heart of Buncombe County as well.
Is there a time when they would vote on this or vote?
No, they're not. They're not going to vote on it. So it would be
Informational.
It's informational for them and part of their thought process moving forward for dedication of staff resources or potentially in future CIP funding cycles, to any changes that might happen to the park, right? So that they're able to kind of have some influence now. But City Council will vote on it. And the way we're doing this is we're doing a full presentation to City Council, almost like a public hearing style. We're going up twice. So we're going with the presentation on 9/12, and then on 9/26, City Council will have a vote. So we do anticipate that this happens. You've seen, those of you who are watching City Council, and I know most of you are fairly regularly now, we see that a lot of people are coming out that night of, and City Council is not necessarily hearing all the comment that they need until that night. That's why we're doing that twice. And then in October, we start with Mellon Grant. So I want to, I'm going to bring up Kimberly Smith here in just one second, but I want to briefly make sure that you all know that this, staff believes that this is in alignment with the Downtown Master Plan. Maybe, I hope you all are very familiar with this beautiful matrix that we continue to work on every year, and this year we're even investing more in as we start with our design guidelines work.
Yay.
Yay! But you can see the strategies on the left-hand side, and then at the top you see some of the themes. So like for this plan, we have 10 themes and 10 design ideas. The Downtown Master Plan has basically 10 strategies and 7 strategies and 7 themes, right? So certainly for experiencing downtown, this aligns really heavily with it. And then there is a section in the plan that talks about participating in the Business Improvement District, which is now very timely again, and managing downtown is strategy number 7, which is really looking at public-private partnerships and potentially a bid. Similarly, we have a comprehensive plan that's adopted, and it aligns very well with all of the major themes, especially thinking about a livable built environment and healthy communities and interwoven equity. And I'll say that this piece of this work, while I'm not dwelling on it today, you all know from hearing me last time that the Mellon Foundation grant includes like over half of that $3 million is going to be spent working with the block and doing community engagement, capacity building, oral and video histories, which is actually county-wide, but working with them to solve some of their issues and really make the two places come together and sing.
May I
You may.
offer a clarification? The Mellon grant and the city's commitment to that process is not particularly tied to whether or not the city adopts this plan. However, this plan, as adopted, would then inform how the Mellon grant is used and applied. Is that correct?
That's correct, and
You said earlier that there's no money, but
but there is, I mean, there is money that we got through a grant.
there is.
Yes.
But it's,
And we are committed to doing some of that work that's implied here, but if you look at the Mellon grant, so for example, I'm gonna go back and just say that, share history and address past harm. There's a whole thing on here on, like, storytelling is important to us. There's nothing in there that says specifically, put money aside and help the Buncombe County Special Collections oral history program by buying new materials and training people in the community. But that's how we're implementing this plan.
exactly.
And we're doing that with Mellon Grant funds. And that is how planning works, right? Is we take those themes and we figure out, there are some strategies,
Exactly.
maybe they look a little bit different. I think that's a great point, and I think also to say that as we move forward, our ability to get additional grants is buoyed by having an adopted plan as opposed to a document or a report that was put together and not adopted by an elected body.
Yes.
So, that said, there is a group of people that represented a variety of boards and commissions and important groups in our community, important neighbors, important residents, important businesses. You'll see, for example, Tim Rosebrock, who works for the Biltmore Company as their VP for Governmental Affairs. He's been heavily participating in this project, and he's out of town this weekend, but he's there because we regularly meet with a group of people. And where's Hayden? Thank you for coming this week. With a group of business owners and property managers and workers who represent the folks that are just on the square. And so I'm gonna remind you that what I'm looking for is a potential motion to recommend to City Council that they consider adopting or not adopting this plan. But I'll leave you with some comments from Kimberly Smith from the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians and the Wilderness Society. Thank you, Kimberly.
Shionagad, Osta Shunale, Gimiguela Shimdi Dalgodon, Aya Ani Katua, Nole Elawodi Osiho, Nole Aniwaya Gangayu. Hello and good morning, everyone. My name is Kimberly Smith. I'm a member of the Anikatua, known today as the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. I am a member of the Yellow Hill community, and I am a member of the Wolf Clan. So I want to say thank you for giving me this space to speak today. And I want to just acknowledge that I serve on this advisory committee as a representative for the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. I was appointed to this committee by the Office of the Principal Chief. So I want to acknowledge before my statement that we convene here today on the ancestral homelands of the Cherokee people. We've been here since time immemorial. So when I speak to you today, I don't just speak to give my own opinion. I speak on behalf of the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians government, its 17,000 plus citizens, and the hundreds of thousands of ancestors that now rest in the dirt where the city is built. I just want to pause to give space to that. In 1797, this land was proclaimed Asheville for 1,000 residents and enslaved people, excluding from the onset my ancestors and the thousands of descendants that still live here. For tens of thousands of years before that, this land was known to the Cherokee people as Godeyadsti. In English translation, that means the place where they race. So this was once an indigenous gathering place, a place for indigenous nation-to-nation commerce and exchange, and a place for culture and community to thrive. And that's just the basis of one civilization this land has witnessed. The city of Asheville has before it an opportunity to transform how a city acknowledges its past, uplifts its residents, and presents itself to the world. We appreciate the city's inclusion of EBCI as an advisor, and we hope that the city looks at this project as we do, an opportunity to invest in cultivating a stronger government-to-government relationship with the Eastern Band. In addressing the details of this Pack Square vision, the EBCI appreciates the 10 design ideas and the overall vision. We support heavily the design ideas that uplift and strengthen diversity, inclusion, and a better connection to the natural environment. We recognize that this project is in its infancy and want to continue providing support and engagement as the next steps are discussed and pathways are created to realizing this vision. We encourage the city to use this project as a vehicle to expand the city's image, to give a balanced narrative to all the identities that have, continue, and will call Godiadsdi home. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to review the planning document, all the materials. Most of us have engaged with this for quite a while. So is there any need for discussion, or we need any additional information? Okay, then I would like to make a motion that the Downtown Commission recommend to the Planning and Zoning and to City Council that the City of Asheville adopt the Pack Square Plaza visioning document. Is that correct? Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? There you go. Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next item is outdoor dining program updates.
Great.
I just want to take a second to thank you, Kimberly, for bringing your words, your language, and your history, both and your history to this project and this work, not just across our region, but across time and the context of what that means as we rebuild this space. I think it's very powerful. So thank you for your time and for the EBCI's attention to this project and sending you as a representative.
Very much hope you stay involved going forward. Okay.
Thank you. And good morning, Commissioners. Dana Frankel with the Planning Department, and have a couple other team members here to help with this presentation. We have been working across departments collaboratively on this for quite some time, as I think you all are aware. Those who participate on the Public Space Management Committee have gotten to see some of this back in the spring, but happy to be here today as we move through the formal process to approve some updates to our outdoor dining program. So you also are aware the city manages various uses of public space, including private uses of public space. We recognize that this type of activation really contributes to a safe and welcoming environment, and at the same time, there's opportunities to maximize public benefit and to improve the way that programs like this are managed. And with that, going into our outdoor dining program updates, we have set out to achieve some goals. I'm going to go over those. That is to support a welcoming, safe, and active environment, to improve the application review and enforcement process, to prioritize mobility and access for all, including those with disabilities, transition elements of the AVL Share Space temporary program that was launched during COVID, continue to support the success and resilience of Asheville's local economy, more appropriately account for the value of commercializing public space through an updated fee structure, which you will see, and promote multiple public benefits, maximize public benefits whenever possible. So what does that look like exactly? We have, moving forward with a new outdoor dining ordinance. We just scrapped the old one because we're trying to make it a lot cleaner and clearer. It means an expanded program that includes the option for streeteries. So our existing and previous outdoor dining program only allowed sidewalk outdoor dining. Now we will allow that option to utilize on-street public parking spaces. We are working on an outdoor dining guide. That will not go to council, but that's something to accompany these updates to make it really easy and clear for our business community and for the general public, what the design standards are, safety standards, and we're including best practices within that as well to help encourage kind of an elevated standard when possible. Updated fees that will be going to council, and those fees support management and goals of the program moving forward. So just going to talk about each one of these today in our presentation, our approach to public and private use, the updated fees, just some highlights on the updated standards, and some improvements to process and management. And just want to kind of get everybody up to speed on how we got here. The city and various downtown stakeholders, I mean, we've been working on managing downtown for a long time, but in 2019, we formalized some of that work through the creation of a downtown management committee at the time, task force, same group, but that group worked really hard for its first year, a little bit more, to do a public survey, to ask the public how various uses of public space downtown, uses contribute to their experience downtown, and what people feel and felt like was most important to having a positive experience downtown. We got a really strong response to that survey at the time. Just want to point out a couple of the takeaways from that. Outdoor dining was the second most positive experience it's a positive experience for people downtown. Second to greenery and plantings, which contribute to a positive experience. When we asked what's most important, folks said trees and shade as number one. They said unobstructed sidewalk space as number two. So as we can see, this is all true, and sometimes some of the uses of public space conflict with each other. So moving forward with the updates of this program, you'll see how we've tried to navigate that and maximize both whenever possible. In 2020, we launched temporary programs and the ability to utilize public spaces differently, including use of on-street parking spaces. In 2021, and throughout the period of launching those programs, got feedback from both the general public and from the business community. It was really across the board positive, people wanting that type of use to be able to be continued. 2021, staff worked on taking everything we'd learned to develop some public space management guidelines, follows up on some recommendations of the downtown master plan related to downtown management, and kind of laid out the trade-offs in different uses of public space, and also recommendations on some priorities moving forward. In late 2021, Downtown Commission and Multimodal Commission had a work session to dig in on some aspects of the outdoor dining program, and I'm going to get to a little bit of that. We've been keeping council informed on our work, and specifically on transitioning some of the temporary initiatives launched during COVID, and they've been very supportive of us moving forward. And then just this past year, working with the Public Space Management Task Force, outdoor dining continues to be a priority for that group. And to revisit, this was the end of 2021, but some key questions that have influenced where we are today. We asked Downtown Commission, Multimodal Commission, is 6 feet of clear space on sidewalks enough? Kind of yes, and maybe in some cases it depends. Should an outdoor dining permit fee be based in part on the amount of space being used? Folks said yes. Should parking spaces be able to be utilized? Yes, if fees are appropriate. Should permitting standards encourage businesses to remove items from the sidewalk when the business is closed? We heard yes. These are things we hadn't previously been doing. Should parklets and streeteries be open to the public when the business is closed? We heard yes. So with all of that in mind, I'm going to start with one key update that we're proposing, and that is encouraging businesses when their business is closed to either consolidate their furniture, taking up about 25% of the space, or make that space available to the public after hours. And we will be requiring signage that indicates what those hours are. So say there's picnic tables. The public could then use those tables after hours. Businesses will have the option not to do that, but we're layering on an additional annual fee if they go that route. And from here, I'm going to hand it off to Tyler to talk a bit about the fees.
Can I make sure I understand that? So
Yes.
if I'm a business and I have picnic tables, which are kind of big, clumsy, in a parking space because I've paid for that permit, and I close at 7 o'clock, for the rest of the evening, my choice will be to pay for it to be private or allow it to be used by the public?
Correct.
So, and that can mean anything. So you might arrive the next morning to a mess. I mean,
Can you say that last part again?
it just sounds like it could be a little wild.
Could be. And businesses
And then
will
they-
have that option.
So, and the other option would be to remove the picnic tables, which are also,
No, the option is to keep it privatized all the time and to sign it that way. So that's the way that it works now.
sign it. Okay.
Or to
Yeah.
consolidate the furniture, you said.
You could, picnic tables might be hard to
That's what I was
consolidate.
Right, okay, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's an investment. It has costs. This is
There's
nothing unusual.
Yeah.
options.
Make sure I understand. Thanks.
Good morning, Tyler Kelly, work in the newly restructured Planning Department, Development and Review Specialist. Take you through some of the drier material. The fees are being.
This is the real stuff right here.
Okay, this is the great stuff, okay. All right, the fees are being updated in order to align with the values of the program and enable improved operational management. You can see on the left our current rates. Staff have done some research to benchmark our proposed rates with other cities. You can see that on the right. Here's a little bit more research, benchmarks for the cost of service for providing review, space for sidewalk dining, and streeteries. See the lost meter revenue on the left. Just a brief summary of those analyses. These are the proposed fees. So after taking all these things into consideration, the proposed fees will be based on the amount of space used.
And this, if I'm reading everything correctly, that puts us pretty much in line with like Raleigh and Savannah, a little bit more than Charlotte. For the streeteries.
For the streeteries, yes, I think for that outdoor dining, it's just about midway.
Yeah, it's in between, but it puts us right in line with what Savannah and Raleigh are doing. And Charlotte, nobody wants to go there anyway, so who cares? Okay, I'm just checking. I hope they're listening.
So it's based on the amount of space used for outdoor dining permit holder. Create a partial cost recovery for public space revenue lost and city staff time needed for review and the new inspection process. And as Dana mentioned before, the public use fee to create an incentive to keep public space open after business hours through the public use fee. Alongside the, I think we'll shift to Ally now.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more question? The public space use fee, so if someone pays the $500, they can close that space when they're not open. Who's enforcing that? Because we know we already have limited resources. So what's that look like?
That looks like what happens now. So I can't say that it always works perfectly, but the business is responsible generally for management of that space.
It's
Of course,
prob-
if there's an issue where the police need to be called, the police get called.
And currently, we don't charge them, correct? We don't charge them an annual fee to keep that privatized?
We charge one fee for the outdoor dining permit. We don't break it apart into a separate fee.
So the suggestion is to charge the $500, but still put the enforcement on them?
Correct.
or-
It's an additional fee layer. And I will take this opportunity to mention, with that fee, the idea is also that that new revenue could get invested in TBD, but it could support businesses to build parklets or streeteries. It could support a placemaking or public space improvement project. It is an additional layer in order to support goals of the program and eventually support improvements to public space.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tom.
Hi, my name is Ellie Gross. I'm an urban planner. And I've been working a lot on the design guide. So we're making updates to our standards, and a lot of these updates are basically just to ensure that there's a pedestrian clear space when you walk on the sidewalk, and then to ensure that there's buffers between key sidewalk features, which would be transit stops and ADA and fire safety. And then we're also making more signage requirements for visibility and safety, which would be, addressing requirements, or like Dana mentioned, operational hours. And then we're also limiting actually bolting things to city infrastructure, so we're not allowing that anymore. So the ordinance is going to be paired with an outdoor dining guide. And this is going to have a lot of graphics like the one you see here, which is going to show how you actually apply these standards to your site plan and the design. And then we'll also have best practices, which will be, not requirements, but things that we're encouraging. And hopefully this will make it really easy for the applicants to kind of move through the process. We're going to have permit flow charts and, outline the fees also in the guide. And then hopefully it'll be really easy to see how these standards are applied and how they can design their spaces.
I have a question regarding design. So I see that you're talking about avoid placing trees over placing entries, exit over tree pits, things like that. So is the streetery responsible for any damage that occurs to any public property or and vegetation in this model?
Yes.
Yes?
Okay. And as a code compliance question, so when I do a restaurant now and I plan for the restaurant, if I have an exterior space that I've got to include that in my plumbing count. In other words, I have to provide restrooms for not only what's inside the building, but for however many occupants are outside the building. Are we
Wow,
doing that?
yeah, interesting. Sorry, out loud, wow. That's a hard one.
Good question,
How could you? I mean, you'd have to,
Well, I mean, because you're bringing in a certain number of people, you've got to provide restrooms for them. I'm just curious if that's like part of this, because here's what if I were an entrepreneur and I'm looking at this and going, I can build a kitchen in 400 square feet in a little corner somewhere, rent half the place, have one bathroom, my overhead's here, my revenue's here. I'm a min-max gamer, so I automatically start looking for how to exploit your loopholes, and I'm just asking if you've thought of that.
We have absolutely thought of that, and we're working on our internal process to make sure that
That doesn't happen?
loop is
Okay.
addressed.
Is what you're talking about is related to like fire code and occupancy, right? For a
Yeah, well,
building?
but see,
It's
building
health,
code, it's
too.
the public health, safety, and welfare. So as designers, we run into this all the time where they're like, hey, you've got this patio, you've got 400 people out there, and you got one restroom, what are you doing?
if you were designing a new restaurant and had that, you would be required to.
I would absolutely be
Yeah.
required to, because that goes into the count. If I go through the bill, and I've got servers out there, there's health regulations with that. As the occupant load goes up, how many hand washing stations do you have for the kitchen, so on and so forth. So all of those things go together. And, you know, if you're adding 3 tables outside in a, you know, streetery, okay, that's one thing. But I'm thinking as a enterprising individual is going to look at this and go, yeah, I can make this work for me. So, and it's not that I don't want to let them make it work for them, but I also want them, one of the things that you said earlier is that we also want to maintain our existing businesses, and we want to have equal weights and measures, for lack of a better term, with our restaurants that maybe can't access a streetery. So anyway.
I would say you are somewhat limited with the design standards, and it would be pretty difficult to add a significant number of more tables.
Right.
Just because you can have 2 parking spaces, and then, you know, our sidewalks are so narrow, there's not a lot of room.
Right.
So
And
fitting 10 tables is difficult.
You are limited to two spaces only, right?
That's what we're proposing.
Yeah.
But if they're already marginal, I don't know,
No, I think it's a great point, and honestly,
Yeah.
half of the work that we've been doing is trying to clean up the way
Okay.
that we're managing this program and taking applications. During COVID, when we launched the temporary stuff, it kind of opened the whole can of all the things that, you know, have been happening for the last, since 1991 when this was created. So we absolutely are aware of that possibility.
And then a question regarding this, Andrew, I'm going to ask you a question. So if you've got a streetery, you've got a busker, and the busker's out there playing, and the streetery folks don't like it, who wins?
There isn't a
It's cage
winner.
fight,
I mean,
duel at dawn.
as
I like
long
it.
as the busker is following the ordinance, the noise ordinance, and ensuring 6-foot clear space, which is also a responsibility, it's not an either or.
Okay.
In your story here, the busker is within the streetery or near the streetery?
Near the streetery. You can see this happening.
Yeah,
can't you?
as far as near the streetery, I think that let's just consider the streetery just any old other piece of downtown furniture, right? And you have to deal with it as a busker.
Okay.
I see this as just a new type of downtown furniture, a little bigger.
Okay.
But the same type of interactions, would apply, I think, as
A good
current.
busker just changes till they love him and start giving him money, but.
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to make money, yes.
Okay.
You try to be a good neighbor if you
I'm just-
want to make money busking.
I'm trying to think this
Or
thing.
the person at the streetery can finish their meal and leave.
That's, yeah.
Or just leave.
Right.
We're just, okay, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, I do have a question. So with street parking kind of disappearing, if a business wanted a parking space for their business as parking, does that structure extend to businesses?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Oh,
Can you
wow.
buy a dedicated parking space for your business?
Can you pay
No.
$3,000 a
So
year and say
there
it's,
are-
and then just run out there and move the chair?
No, it's a great question. There are benefits to activating public space, specifically through outdoor dining and in other ways, that contributes to visibility on the street, activity, safety, vibrancy, supporting, businesses to have that commercial activity. A vehicle and a parking space does not contribute those same benefits. At this moment, we're not offering businesses to lease or utilize the space in any other way. It would be specifically for outdoor dining.
But what if they have it for outdoor dining, but they go ahead and put a little kiosk out there with a couple of T-shirts for their merch?
So we have a push cart program, and people have the ability to sell merchandise or food through the push cart program. We have open locations pretty much all the time that people can participate that. At this time, we're not including merchandise as part of the program, and there's a few reasons for that. During COVID, we provided that opportunity, and it didn't make sense for retailers we could go into
Lots
that.
of reasons.
It
Yeah.
has only made sense for outdoor dining businesses.
Okay.
This is a starting place. This doesn't mean, so from here, it would be much easier for the city to offer merchandising opportunities, public parklets, which this is not. These are commercial business managed parklets, but this is what we've seen that there's interest in to this point, and so this is where we're starting.
So, I got a quick question, kind of combines something that Steph said earlier, and what Nora said. Active spaces are safer spaces. Is there use it or lose it component to this. Like, let's say that somebody wants, creates, does a sidewalk dining, and they don't do anything with it. They just sort of rope it off, and there's no actual activity there. They, for whatever reason, they desire a buffer between their private business and the public world, and they're just they want to pay the city $7 a square foot or whatever to implement this. That, to me, does not satisfy the nature of this program. Would that be allowed?
That is allowed, and we are adding multiple layers through these proposed updates to discourage that. So because of the per square foot fee, because of that, it's only $500 a year, but because of the public space use fee, that's also discouraged. Do businesses have that option? Yes. Is what we're proposing an effort to discourage that? Yes.
Wait, I have a question about that too.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
So if you can't bolt something down, so let's take Carmel's, for example. They don't have picnic tables, they have bistro sets. They can't bolt them down, but they have to rope them up or they will get stolen. So they are now being charged $500 to then have to rope them off because they don't want someone else using them. But you can't use them when they're tied together.
So two things. There are different ways. Heavy items are not bolted in. So part of the reason for not allowing things to be permanently bolted is just because of that damage to the public infrastructure. I want to also make it clear that we're not going to be asking businesses to rip their stuff out. So if and when Carmel's decides to do a remodel of their outdoor dining space, yes, we're looking for businesses to follow these guidelines, but we're not going to be asking people to rip existing structures out. There is also going to continue to be a path forward if people really need and want to have permanent structures in the right-of-way, but that will be a separate, through Public Works encroachment process. The encroachment process right now is currently part of outdoor dining. It's very messy. We're trying to make the outdoor dining program a lighter use of public space. And so there's still options.
Right, but if I have to then chain all of my tables together, can I consider that open for the public after hours if they're all chained together?
So depending on how they're chained together, and I know this is weedy, but I appreciate the questions. If it's not available to be used, then no, they would be asked to pay that $500 fee.
There could be a way that they could secure them, that someone
Right.
could still come and sit at.
There could be. So we're going to provide some examples of that in the guide.
But then you're talking about that there's going to be a separate process that if they wanted to have a more permanent encroachment in the right of way, that they could actually fasten down and keep, that there'll be a separate path for that.
Correct. And there always has to be a path for that type of structure. Awnings and other there are permanent structures that need to be in the right of way, but it's not going to be part of the outdoor dining program because we're,
So like the really wonderful little covered kiosk areas at the Grove Arcade, they're in the right of way, correct?
Yes.
Definitely not 6 feet of clear sidewalk between that and Carmel's table.
Right. Right. But so we've already got instances like that.
Lots of instances.
Throughout the city. Okay.
Megan looks like she has burning questions.
Well, and the Grove Arcade is actually unique. Again, I do love getting into the weeds. They have a blanket encroachment agreement for all of that adjacent sidewalk with the city, and so I don't see that changing. I think that will remain in place.
That's city-owned land, right? It's just leased.
Yes.
So you can't just rent a parking space and park there. And you can't just rent a space and not do anything there for sake of public activity. So why can you rent and rope and not put any furniture or dining experience? Why? Is that what I heard? That's what Andrew was
I'm
asking.
sorry, can you say the last
So
part
you can
again?
still buy a space but leave it completely empty?
Oh, no, we have to,
that's what I
for a
thought I heard.
parklet, you got to meet standards, and we haven't gotten to it yet, but you're going to have to go through a review process. We're actually going to send those through TRC. It is a structure. So no, you can't just have an open space. It's the most efficient thing to do.
Process is the punishment. Okay. Poor TRC.
Well, maybe let's get through. We just have a few more slides and then, okay, no problem.
And then Megan, I see you. We will get to you.
So
Go
to
ahead.
the bathroom question, I think it's, for restaurants, is 1 per 75, so 2 restrooms would cover 150 people.
Okay.
And like Ellie said, I don't think it adds too much.
Okay.
Yeah, the math on that means almost never come up.
It depends if they're,
really could,
if they're at that margin, yeah.
What is it for over
It's a
150?
big restaurant.
150 to how
that adds
many?
space.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going. I'm sorry.
Okay. So alongside the new ordinance and guide, we're establishing a new review process. So we've been working to develop a user-friendly process that will help ensure success of applicants and protect the important elements of public space. And the TRC will serve as a review, but also a great resource for getting those streeteries, those structures established in a safe and effective manner and help you with the design, et cetera. So this will include a comprehensive review of applications for compliance, a new annual inspection process, and proactive checks for compliance with standards within the public spaces. So review, inspection, compliance, you can kind of see the workflow there. And here's a little bit more stretched out review process for each. So streetery, you would go, do a coordinated review with planning and urban design. We obviously offer early assistance, pre-application meetings. Then you have the technical review committee, which you'll have you'll have fire, zoning, planning,